Hey everybody, Tom here with Hidden Beats, and today we are talking with the lovely Jessica Sevier. How are you doing?
I'm doing great today. How are you?
I'm doing good, except for, the delightful tech issues, but
Of course. It's always how it goes.
hmm So we're here to talk a bit about you, your music, and kind of get to know more about you. But for those who are new, can you give a little intro about yourself?
Yeah. I'm a Toronto-born country artist. I make music that's very kind of nostalgic of, the 70s rock, 80s glam metal is like my favorite genre. So I always try and add a little bit of that spice in there. And then, classic country, working man's country. I grew up listening to a lot of John Mellencamp and Bruce Springsteen. So that's kind of where I stem from. But it's still very modern. It's still poppy and it's still fun. So if that's interesting to someone, then I think you'd like my music.
I listened to some of the tracks beforehand. I can definitely see where some of those inspirations come from for sure.
Yay. I'm glad people can hear them.
hmm So one of my first questions, I mean, you just talked about some of your influences and things like that.
Mhm.
What's one of the first albums that you bought that kind of got you into music?
That's a really good question. I didn't really buy a lot of music as a kid. It was mostly my dad handing me cassettes, or he'd load songs on my iPod and he'd just be like, "Here you go." I didn't really have favorite artists. I was just listening to what my dad gave me, and that's definitely where all of my inspiration came from. I was listening to Guns N' Roses and Poison and all these kind of bands that my dad loved so much and never let go of, in the 2000s. And so that's all I listened to as a kid. And I mean, as I got older, I got into a lot of Taylor Swift, as someone my age does.
hmm
She was huge back then, and definitely where a lot of the country inspiration came from for me. But I think the one album that I was given on cassette was Heartbreak Station by the band Cinderella. And it's such a country album, and nobody really knows about it because they were big for, the glam metal in the 80s. And then I think this was 1991, this album came out, and it was all acoustic country. And it's just the most beautiful album I've ever heard. And I heard it and I was like, I want to make this music. It's rocky, it's country, it's down to earth, and that's what kind of made me start writing.
No, I mean, I remember some of their music back in the day, and I was that, that I don't think I know that one specifically, but fun for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a secret one that I kind of like to keep to myself. I show it to a few select people that I think would enjoy it.
hmm Now, one of the big things we're here to talk about today is your new single, which I believe is out today, if I'm not mistaken. Legends of the Summer. Can you tell us a bit about that one?
Yes, Legends of the Summer is one of my favorite projects so far. I mean, I say that about all of them when they come out. I'm always so excited about them. But this one I think is really my introduction to the world, is who I am. I'm not trying to stick to the mold of country music and female country and it's all poppy. I want to really show off who I am and show those inspirations. And this song was pitched to me by four amazing writers: Karen Kosowski, Emma Lee, Jessica Kane, and Maddie Walker. And the first time I heard it, I just fell in love. It was just love at first listen, I guess.
hmm
And I brought it to my producer, and I was just talking about what I was hearing in it. It's nostalgic, it's reminiscent of, past times. And I was like, what a great way to bring in past times with past music inspirations. So we took a lot of like Eagles inspiration through guitar work, and we referenced some modern tracks, like I Hope by Gabby Barrett. That's a really rockin' poppy tune that came out maybe 2 years ago around then. I'm not sure, but yeah, it's more modern, and I think mixing those elements just I fell in love with the song even more. It became exactly who I am, and I'm ready for the world to hear that, and I hope I can continue to make music like that.
hmm Now, what makes a Legend of the Summer? Like, what's the idea behind the title for you?
For me, it's about like that first love summer teenage feeling. And it could be any kind of romance for anyone listening, but for me, I felt that, I was 16 years old, summertime, it's warm, you're running around, like you're falling in love, maybe it's your first love, and you just feel incredible and unstoppable, like the everything is like rose-colored glasses. Um and then the summer ends and it's just it all kind of falls apart. You break up, you move away, things like that. So that's really where I find inspiration in that title and the song and the lyrics. And um I hope people can also relate to that, you know, relate to a legendary feeling they had. I like to say welcome to your legend era. Like, this is, we're starting our legend era. We're not going to care, we're going to feel legendary, we're going to do what we want to do. And that's exactly what I did with this song. Was I did exactly what I wanted to do. You know, I made it the music I wanted it to be, and it was exactly how I pictured it, with the rock and the inspiration. And I hope that, yeah, everyone can feel that a little bit in the song.
For sure. And it's fun. Like I listened to it and I had a good time listening to it, which is
Awesome.
the first criteria that you need to have is if you can enjoy listening to the whole song, then you know it's going somewhere.
Exactly, yeah. I think you have to listen to the whole thing. There's a story that goes through the song, you know. It's outlining all the good times and all the bad times, and just like, here it all is in plain sight. And I think listening from start to finish, you really feel how the emotions move, and you know, how it all escalates and then kind of falls apart by the end.
hmm Now, was there hard parts putting a track like this together for you when you're doing the whole production process?
To be honest, this song came very easily. My producer and I are good buddies, and you know, he really understands what I want and who I am, and everything he did, I just loved. There was so, like, he's so creative, and he just added some like chunky guitars, like just like chugging on them, and I was like, oh wow, that's so cool. I don't think there was anything that hard. I mean, it took us a while to finish the song. I will say that that was probably the hardest part. It took us probably about 8 months to finish the whole thing, because I was so busy. I was on the road and he was on the road, and every time we could connect, you know, we would work a little bit more on it and a little bit more. Um, so it was a long process, but I wouldn't say it was hard in any way. It was honestly probably one of the most easiest recordings I've made.
Oh, that's always good to have something simple and smooth come out of it.
Exactly, yeah.
Now, you kind of hit the scene a little bit. I think around 2019 is what I have written down, and every artist evolves a bit as they go. So, how do you think your music has evolved from 2019 to 2023 now?
I think it's evolved kind of like full circle for sure. I started with songs that I wrote when I was a teenager, and stuff that was like really true to who I am, and really folky and kind of like Americana, I guess, or like, I guess, Canadiana, since I'm Canadian. But it was kind of me and a guitar, and that was how I started. And I tried to, you know, move into different areas, and I love everything I've created. And um, I've kind of come back to my roots and just really feeling the song. It's a good acoustic song. How can we make it better? And there are many things I wish I could change about my old songs, and I wish they would be more like this song. But you know, I've grown up. I started making music when I was 15. Now I'm 22, so there's a huge age range between those songs. And I really think people can see me grow up through my music, for sure. This is like my most mature sound, I would say. So yeah, I think just you can see the growth of me as a human, you know, growing from that young age to where I am now. And I think it's kind of a cool thing to hear, since I started so young.
hmm Now, this is one of the harder questions I think for any artist to answer is what do you think sets you above someone else and draw people into for them to listen to you more?
So yeah, that that's a good question. It's like, how do I brag about myself? You know?
hmm
Um, I think I have something that's really different, in that I love vintage. I love having a look that's curated, and I love fashion, and I love all that sort of stuff. I'm basically just living in the wrong era. I like to say, you know, I look like I was walked out of the 70s everywhere I go. I'm wearing bell bottoms, I'm wearing vests, I'm wearing big collars, and it's I think that's something that's really interesting about me, is that, you know, I always have a look. I always put my best foot forward with vintage fashion, and everything I do, I think about the past, which is kind of weird. But my dream is just like to bring everything I love into the modern day. Like, not everyone likes that sort of stuff, and if I can bring a little bit of a modern twist on it and bring back the 70s, I think then I that's something that's just a little bit different about me. I would feel good if I could make it popular again.
For sure. And everyone needs something that's theirs too. So
Yeah.
you have a nice aesthetic about your the way you carry yourself and your music and everything. So that's always fun.
Yeah.
Now, you're also someone, like you said, you got a lot of music love from stuff from your parents, your dad when you were younger, and now you've grown up in the digital age of music. What do you think the music scene's like comparatively to both, since you've experienced maybe a little bit?
It's really different. I grew up listening to cassettes and all that sort of stuff, and CDs, and you buying physical copies and all that sort of stuff, and it's gone these days. I've never put out a physical copy of my work because everyone just wants to stream it on their phone. And I hope in the future I would love to put out a vinyl record. um but I just don't think it's the right time. I think everyone's still in the digital of just, I want it right now, I want it right now. And that's okay. And I think, there's a lot of changes that need to happen. I think we're going in the right direction of, paying artists well, and we're getting there, but it's not quite there yet. I would definitely, if I could, go back to the eras of cassettes and CDs, and selling my physical copies to fans. And the only way to meet an artist was to go see them live. There was no Instagram, there was no TikTok, and that's really where I love to connect with fans, and everything is live. I love
Hmm
playing live shows, and I think, I wish that that was more prevalent today. Is, oh, I've got to go see them at this club, like I'm never gonna see them again, like that sort of thing. And um yeah, it's different. I wouldn't say today's worse or better. I think we're just evolving into a different world.
And everything comes back around too. Like you said, vinyls are
Yeah,
actually getting a little bit more popular again, and
yeah,
coming out of it and all the tours and stuff, like live music has exploded now. So stuff like that is
yeah,
starting to kind of swing back in a little bit, and you're seeing a little bit more of the people wanting to get out and experience that type of stuff.
yeah, which is great. I love that. Yeah, the response to live shows is crazy now. Before COVID, it was whatever, you know, Instagram, stuff like that. But yeah, no, for sure, since COVID, everyone just wants to get out.
Hmm
So I'm really hoping we kind of come back around to people wanting to buy vinyl. And I mean, it's already starting, but yeah, that would totally be a dream, is like that kind of really making a resurgence.
Yeah, for sure. And so you're someone who likes to do a lot of, a lot of live shows, things like that. Do you have like a pre-show routine that you have to do to get yourself kind of geared up and ready to go?
Um, it's mostly just no one to talk to me. I'm always so stressed, and like I'm just like, okay, I'm anxious. Like I just want to do it. I want to get on stage. I want to have fun, and I'm just like, I just need to be left alone. I think that's the biggest thing. Um, my band and I, we do a prayer. We give hugs, and we just give it our all before we go on. We always seem to have pizza too before we sing and dance around, which is not the best idea now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, we always seem to eat pizza, have a few drinks, do a big group hug and prayer, and then just go give it our all. And it seems to work. I love that routine. The shows always go awesome, and they're just such high energy days that it's just, I'm always just, let's go, let's go. I'm so anxious and everything's just crazy, but I wouldn't trade the day. It's the most fun when you get to play live.
For sure. What do you do to keep grounded outside of music? Do you have like your own kind of home routine and, meditation, anything like that?
Honestly, I just love to do nothing when, after shows and after busy days, doing nothing and just sitting and watching like a movie. Again, I love vintage movies. So, Breakfast at Tiffany's is my comfort movie. And, if I'm having a tired day, I'll just put that on and relax. Or a lot of the John Hughes movies from the 80s just kind of relax me as well. I grew up watching those. So they're just kind of like relax, chill movies, and I love
Hmm
doing that. So yeah, just doing nothing pretty much.
Yeah, John Hughes movies are always fun to pop in and just
Yeah,
have a vibe to, for sure.
sure. And putting them in on a disc is the best. No Netflix. We grab our collection. I flip through them. I grab one. I put it in the TV.
Hmm. My wife keeps telling me I have to get rid of some of my DVDs and things like that because I've got way too many.
Yeah. I keep all of mine up north in the cottage, so my home is not cluttered, and I can just keep them all in one place.
I mean, that's not a bad spot for sure.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice to watch movies up there and just chillax.
Hmm. So one of the things I like to know about artists and stuff like that is because there's a community around. So I want to know who you're listening to and like some of the artists that you're liking and what they're doing these days.
It's good. It's good. I do listen to a lot of music. Um, so much music. I'm just trying to think. I've been loving a lot of the Eagles lately. I mean, I always listen to the Eagles, but they're just so fun to sing with in the car and like harmonize with and do all that sort of stuff. I'm loving Megan Maroney's new album. She is killer. I think that album's been on repeat for like since it came out, I think a week or two ago. That's always on in the car. Morgan Wallen's new album for sure. Love it. There's so many good tunes on that. That was bumping in my car for like a month. Just like that's the only thing I would put on. My friends and I would just roll the windows down and just listen to that. It's just a great album. A lot of yeah, John Mellencamp, Bruce Springsteen. I still listen to them all the time. Um,
Hmm.
Lydia Sutherland has been putting out new music. It's been really great. She's another artist that I've written with. She wrote my previous single "See You There" with me, as well as Aaron Pollock. They're great writers, and Lydia's been putting out some really good music lately. And there's probably so many people I'm missing, but that's kind of what's been on my radio recently.
Yeah, I think we've actually talked to Aaron and Lydia before as in one of our interviews. So I've heard and seen a lot of their stuff coming out and kept up with them for sure.
Yeah, they're doing great, and I was so grateful that they wrote "See You There" with me, and we've become good friends since then. And it's just so great to see people you know doing so well.
Mhm. Now, fun one that I like to ask everyone is what's your guilty pleasure song that's on your playlist? You have one of those ones that people
Hmm,
wouldn't expect you're listening to?
that's a really good question. I don't know if I have one. I mean, I probably do lots of Hannah Montana, like the Hannah Montana the movie stuff. So good.
Oh yeah, there's some good tunes on there for sure.
But I think this is a really weird one. Bridget Mendler from Disney Channel, from way back when I was a kid, she put out an album which I used to sing all the time as a kid. And recently I've been playing it in my car. I think the song I like is Forgot to Laugh. And it's
Okay.
just such a like poppy, dumb song. I mean, it's great music, but if anyone heard me listen to that, I'd probably be like, oh, what? No, no, not Disney Channel music.
There's so many the people really underestimate Disney Channel, things like that. Like you look at High School Musical, for instance, and the songs that came out of there, even though they might not have been what you'd expect as great songs, the writing behind some of those songs was outstanding. Like I
Yes.
have High School Musical on my playlist right now.
Oh, it's the best. I think,
Hmm.
yeah, growing up in that era of, all those Disney Channel movies, High School Musical, and all like the big shows like Hannah Montana, and where everything was music, and you know, the singers might not have been the best, the musicians might not have been the best, but the writing, like they're great written songs.
Hmm.
And it's just I can't get them out of my head all the time. I wish like I could put out some Disney Channel music, like
Hmm. Something
it's
that
so
just has
great.
that hits home a little bit extra. Like
Yeah.
that'd be something.
Yeah, no, I love Disney Channel music, but it's definitely a guilty pleasure. I would turn it off if someone came in the car.
Yeah. My wife thinks it's weird that I have some of those on my playlist, but it is what it is. I'm a lover of music, so.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Now, you've probably seen a few interviews in your time and experienced a few different things. What's one thing you think should be asked more in an interview that's not asked enough?
That's a really good. You have some great questions.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Something that should be asked more. Hmm.
Maybe even just something that you want to know more about someone.
I guess I feel like yeah, I feel like you asked me like personal questions like what you do in like your free time or like what's your routine like at home, and I'm like that's something I would love to know about an artist, like what do they eat for breakfast, like what do they do in their lives, like they're
Hmm.
like some of these big celebrities, like very little about them except for their music and maybe what kind of clothes they're wearing, and I think yeah, like what is a look into a day of like, you know, Bruce Springsteen, what does he do? You know, he gets up and does what? I think that would be a really good question. I would love to know more about, or a guilty pleasure, you know, you want to know everything about these artists.
Hmm.
I think that would be a good question. You asked that, which was super cool.
So I use that question specifically because I may not have the greatest research when I'm looking up stuff, and that helps me kind of go, oh wait, that would be a good one to ask, and start,
Yeah,
sprinkling them in like that.
for sure. Yeah, that's a really good question.
Hmm. Now, I got two last things here, and they're both very important. I think probably the most important of everything is why music. Why do you keep doing what you're doing?
Um, it's been the one thing that I've always, I guess, been drawn to, or, you know, have been a little bit good at. As a kid, like I just would sing all the time, and like play piano, and just, you know, put on concerts for my family. I remember as a kid, my grandma would pick me up from school every day and bring me home, and we'd put on Hannah Montana, and she would make me get up every single time on the when the theme song came on and do a whole performance of it, dance, sing, you know, do a whole show, and it was always just something that everyone wanted me to do. Like I expressed an interest in it, and everyone was just so loving towards it and wanted to see more. So I just kept going and going, that, you know, I'd pick up, it was sort of my family, right? Like my grandma
Hmm.
loved it, my mom and dad loved it, my aunt and uncles would love to watch me dance and sing. Um, and then yeah, it just kept growing, you know, I would play at a school talent show, and people would be like, "Oh, I really like this," and you're doing well. And I would do like Broadway shows at school, musical theater stuff, and it was always just something that I did, and I never really questioned it. I never really like made the decision, I'm gonna do music. It always just happened. Um, I've gotten really lucky with a lot of opportunities that it just kept going and going. And you know, when I finished school, it was, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do music, and I'm gonna tour, and I'm gonna write and record and all that sort of stuff, because that was the one thing that was constant in my life. I guess I was always doing it, and it just felt right, to keep going and see where it went. And you know, I could be doing music for the rest of my life. I could be doing it for the next 10 years, 5 years. It's just something that I love, and I'm gonna do it until, you know, I don't love it anymore. Because that's the reason I do it, is, you know, for the joy and the pleasure it gives me, and
Hmm.
the fulfillment, I guess.
And that's what a true artist, true musician should do. You should do it because it's something you love, something that fulfills you, something that moves you forward.
Exactly. And if it ever became something that, you know, I didn't like, or it was a burden, or it just felt like too much, and it was just not the right thing to do anymore, then I'd have to listen to myself, and you know, move on.
Hmm, for sure. So my final piece is, what do you hope someone takes away from your music?
I think, you know, just, you know, maybe having a little bit of comfort in knowing that somebody's going through the same thing. I write a lot about, you know, real situations, and all that sort of stuff. And I think, you know, young girls listening, you know, can feel a little bit better that I went through the same thing and I came out the other end, or stuff like that. And just hopefully they can relate and maybe feel a bit happy, feel any kind of emotion, and help them express something that, you know, they couldn't before.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, just being able to connect with music and have that story kind of help you through something is probably the reason anyone listens to music, to be honest.
Yeah, for sure. That's the only reason I really listen to music. I find comfort in lyrics, and I find comfort in music and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, that's I right before we started this, I had my music blasting just to put me into a certain mood and
Yeah,
and get
exactly.
relaxed a bit almost. And
Yeah, there's music for every mood, you know, pump up music, which I think Legends of the Summer can really do, and like there's like relax music, and music can really change a mood in just a matter of seconds. So I just think it's so magical that it can do that. And Legends can be anything someone wants it to be, a pump up, a feel better, you know, maybe a sad song to sit in bed and listen to. I think it has all those kind of aspects to it.
hmm and that's pretty much all I have for you. Is there any kind of final notes that you want to leave to listeners new and old, little tidbits of wisdom?
Um, I guess just, you know, listen to my music if it brings you any sort of emotion, whether it be sad, happy, pumped up, as I was saying. I hope I can bring something to your lives by, giving you this song. And follow me on social media. Find out where I'm playing. I'm playing in Toronto a whole bunch this summer. Tuesday the 23rd at the Dakota Tavern. I'm doing the Wheat Chief Tavern on June 5th, the Cameron House on June 16th. So just a lot of shows here in Toronto. So if anyone listening's from my area here, then make sure to check them out.
Well, we'll definitely make sure we link your socials and everything in the description. And I have some of my staff members that are out there in Toronto. I'll see if I can get them to come out
Awesome.
and check out a show.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Well, I had a delightful time, and I won't keep you too much longer because it is a nice day out, so we can actually go enjoy some sunlight. And
For sure.
but it was great to get to know you, get to learn a little bit more about you, and I'm sure we're definitely going to have a conversation again in the future.
I hope so. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure chatting with you.
Not a problem. You enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank